Well, I'm about to record. You're going to stay here? You're going to join me? Whatever, you're the boss. I am coming to you looking a little scruffier than my normal self because I am ticked off, as I say in the title of the video, because I might have to move. Before I get into the gist of why I have to move, let me talk about just, I'm a cynical person by nature. I'm not automatically trusting of people. And I generally find that, until you really get to know people, I suspect that, either they're hiding something, they've got some kind of ulterior motive or some other kind of issue that they don't want you to know about, or that they are taking shortcuts, especially if there is some kind of business relationship, or, and I see this way too common, some people are willing to screw you over for a short term small gain instead of some kind of long term shared mutual benefit. And just, completely making up an example, imagine that you have like a friend in high school and you help them study, and your family is always inviting them over to dinner, and then one day they decide to steal $10 out of your mom's purse, that sort of thing. Again, completely making up that scenario, but the same thing you can sort of see sometimes on a bigger scale in the real world. Another thing that I want to talk about in the way of introduction before I get into the main drama is that I come from a consulting background. And in a consulting background, you learn a lot about customer success and what defines customer satisfaction. A huge part of consulting is managing expectations. And I had a boss many years ago, great boss, and he emphasized what customer satisfaction means. And he would repeat over and over again that customer satisfaction is what happens when results exceed expectations. And so it is paramount that you manage expectations and that you deliver more than what the customer expects. And so for that reason, for example, let's take two different scenarios. Okay, so let's say that you have a customer and you promise 100, but you deliver 90. And in another scenario, you promise 75, but you deliver 85. So in those two scenarios, which one is better? Where you delivered 90 or where you delivered 85? Well, from a managing expectations point of view, it's better to have a situation where you exceed expectations. So if you only set the expectation at 75 and you delivered 85, that's better than setting the expectation at 100 and delivering 90. Okay, that was a long way of introducing the subject. You might tell that I am a bit frustrated right now because I might have to move. That is a very distinct possibility, and it all relates to paperwork that I need to get here in Spain. And so I've made several videos before talking about how I need the empadronamiento. I need to get my padron, which is something that's, a bit unique to Spain. We don't have something like that in the United States, but basically it means that you have to register your address with your local city council for the purpose of the census. And it probably also has some stuff dealing with taxes as well. But in the US, whenever there's a census every 10 years, they just count people. It's just like based on the words in the Constitution, someone doesn't have to be registered somewhere. They just need to count the number of people in a certain area. And so that's how the US Constitution works. And you don't have to register your address for the sake of the census. But in Spain, you do need this padron. You do need to register your address with the city council. And furthermore, the padron is a necessary step for other Spanish paperwork. So, for example, I need the padron in most situations, like 99% of situations, in order to get my TIE. That is the identification card, tarjeta, for extranjeros, for outsiders, people who are not citizens. And so the TIE is also very important because it establishes me as residing in Spain. And once I have my Mexican citizenship firmly in hand, after 2 years of residency here in Spain, then I can apply for my Spanish citizenship. And so there are just all these steps I need to do. You need to get the padron so you can get the TIE so that you can get the Spanish citizenship in an accelerated time frame. So anyhow, I moved here without a place to live, which was, pretty nuts, pretty daring. I strongly recommend against doing it. But anyhow, I was able to get an apartment here, and I was very clear with both the landlord and the rental agency. Am I able to get my padron? And they assured me that yes, you can get your padron. And that should just be automatic. Anyone who is renting a place, by law, they need to be able to provide a padron because someone needs to register in order for all these other different services. And one other thing to mention is that, yes, getting a padron is a bit of a pain in the neck because it's, you have to go through the city council, you have to go through the ayuntamiento. There are a lot of lines. It's hard to get an appointment. Spain is trying to centralize all of that this year so that it doesn't create such a burden on each individual province to set up their own systems and processes for all that different paperwork. But anyhow, yeah, it is a pain getting the padron, but also the landlord is supposed to provide the necessary paperwork so that someone can register for the padron. Well, as you can figure out, right now it looks like my landlord is not able to provide the necessary paperwork. I won't go into all the different details, but I had an appointment on Wednesday at the ayuntamiento, the city council, for getting my padron. This is the second one that I went to. I had one in December as well, and it didn't work out because the paperwork I had then was inadequate based on what I was provided by the landlord. I got more paperwork, and again, this is inadequate, and right now it is unsure as to whether my landlord will be able to provide necessary paperwork. So right now in this situation, I am screwed in terms of getting the padron for this particular address. And I need it, and I will do what I need to do in order to get that so I can get the TIE, so I can get my Spanish citizenship. So again, that is what I have been dealing with for the past 2 days. I've been here in Spain. How long have I been here? 3 months, 3.5. I don't even know. I'm even losing track of how long that I've been here, coming up on 4 months. And I really need to get this stuff going. And it sucks that it takes this long. So anyhow, that is just a little bit of an update on my situation. I know I was rambling a bit in this video, but again, I am ticked off, to put it mildly, and I will have more updates coming up on what I'm going to do in my situation so that we can be safe and secure here.